We're back with another Pack Perspective feature here with NC State legend Emeka Emezie talking Wolfpack football. As always, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe here at YouTube at Inside Pack Sports. Also, check out the website, www.insidepacksports.com, for the latest coverage on NC State athletics. And Emeka, NC State 3-0. Go on the road, pick up a big win against Wake Forest. Before we get into the win, you've been in that spot before, 3-0, man. That has to feel pretty good as a team to go into that locker room, get your first, conference win. Virginia didn't count. Yeah. So you got your first conference win. It has to feel good to start 1-0 in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just those three teams that have played so far are pretty good teams. You saw ECU beat up on Coastal Carolina, and Virginia is obviously a talented team in Wake Forest. So being able to have those kind of 3 wins as well going in is just a great momentum factor for us going forward, honestly.
I mentioned you starting strong. I go back to 2018 NC State. You guys began that year 5-0 before going to take on number 1 Clemson on the road. And we know that one did not turn out too well for the Wolfpack. So we won't talk about that one. But I do want to ask you, what was it like kind of building and taking it from 3 to 4 to 5? I'm looking at the schedule. You went on the road, got a good road win against Marshall. I remember at the time fans were kind of worried about that game because they played you tight the year before. You guys went up there, won by 17, came home, got your first conference win against Virginia. You had 5 for 90 and a touchdown in that game. And then you picked up the win against Boston College. Getting that momentum, how big was that for you guys that year?
I think that just showed to us who we were, right? Like with Ryan coming back, Kelvin and Jacoby and all those guys, Jermaine Pratt, like having that same kind of momentum going into that year, we said we were who we were. And having that 5-0 kind of start, which is crazy to think about, having a big matchup going up against Clemson is ultimately what you want, right? Like I think it was a 5 versus 14 matchup that we ended up having. So it's always good to play in those big games, and you create those big atmosphere and games for yourself. And ultimately having that year was a great experience.
Let's look at this NC State game versus Wake Forest. I talked all week last week, Emeka, about NC State starting fast. I know we discussed it on that Pack Perspective. It was a focal point. You go up there in the first kickoff, return for a touchdown. It had me reminded of, what was it, South Carolina?
Yeah.
You were there. That was one of yours. 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your true freshman year. South Carolina, Debo Samuel ran that one back to start it. What is that like as a player, watching it from the sidelines when you're just so amped up for the start of the game, right? Especially that one was the season opener for you guys. This one was the first road game for NC State. Yeah. You're so amped up in that spot, and then that team runs the opening kickback. That has to be deflating.
You know, I don't think I've ever been a part of a game where the opposing team has ran back a kickoff and we've won. So even as a fan, I'm sure we were all like, here it goes. Like, of course, against Wake again, but to be able to fight back, it's that narrative that we have this year that we're fighting against the natural occurrences that would usually happen in the past. Like in certain moments, Coach Doeren's going for it on 4th down, and we're doing things that we don't usually do. It's been amazing to see that we're fighting against those moments that usually go the other way. We're taking them for our own way now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. You typically don't overcome a kickoff return for a touchdown like that because these games are so tight. You can't give away possessions. To NC State's credit, though, they almost got it back, or they did get it back with the Isaiah Shirley interception return for a touchdown, right? They kind of neutralized it a little bit, and that was a play that NC State needed to have because defensively they weren't great in the first half. We'll talk about it. But it's same deal. As an offensive player, when your defense can give you one, that has to be big.
Yeah, it's everything, honestly, to be able to not be out there and have a score happen. It gives that inflation to the offense that it looks like we're doing better than we are, and we allow for that momentum. We take that momentum and that just gets the guys going, like a big guy scoring especially, but like defense scoring is such a momentum changing play for teams that it's hard for the opposing team to then come back out there and try to find some kind of rhythm as well.
When you look at this game for NC State, fell behind 14-0, fight back to tied at 14, fall behind 24-17 going into halftime, had to rally again. You've seen that now back-to-back weeks. I know they had the graphic posted of Dave Doeren's record when trailing at halftime, right? When he was being interviewed. Right. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, which, to be fair, probably most coaches, it's not good when you're trailing at halftime, right? But the number wasn't good. But the cool thing for this version of NC State, they're now 2-0 in that same spot. And so confidence-wise, I think I think it helps your offense just as much as your defense. You feel like you're never out of the game. When you can do that in back-to-back spots, you feel like you're never out of it.
Absolutely. And I was talking to one of my friends as well that we talked about NC State's never really been a second-half team. They've always more been starting out fast, and then we might lose that lead later into the game. And the fact that we're able to not have the lead going into back-to-back games and take that back is it's a testimony to who we are. And that energy is shifting for NC State, which I've been loving to watch, that it really is a new team, a new kind of energy that's going on around NC State.
You know, we talked last week about the emergence of Hollywood Smothers, and he had a career high in rushing against Virginia. Followed that up, career high in rushing against Wake Forest. Big time performance. We mentioned Damon Claiborne versus Hollywood Smothers. We'll talk about the job State did on Claiborne here in a second. But now you've seen another week, 160 yards rushing from Smothers. Where are you at with his game right now, and how encouraging is it for NC State moving forward with what he's showing at that position?
Yeah, I think that he's just such a focal point on the offense. That's somebody that you want to get the ball, whether it's through the pass, the screens, to run the ball to him. He's so elusive and shifty that he can make those 5-yard gains turn into 50-yard gains. You can make that 1 yard supposed to be stopped, but now he's falling forward for 5 yards. Like, finding a way to get him the ball, like him and CJ that are back there, it's so exciting to see those two back there playing with each other, knowing that at any moment that they can go the distance or make something electric happen for our team.
When you watch CJ Bailey right now, where have you seen individual growth from him from last year to now?
I think just taking care of the ball, right, and then knowing his reads as well. I think we're doing so good as an offensive coordinator to put himself in positions to where he's able to make an easy progression read for himself, right? Like a lot of these things he knows maybe pre-snap that's where he's supposed to go to, as well as that they're like full. What I've been seeing is like it's a full field progression to where he's able to check from there, then get back to the middle, then get down to his back. So he's able to have those different options, as well as for his legs. He's using it to pass first, and then if he sees the alley to run, he's able to run. So it's so hard for the defenses to cover that when they're trying to cover somebody that's able to run, as well as that he can have that talent to be able to make that pinpoint accuracy type of throws. And he's just been electric for us, you know.
Was there a play in this game where you felt like NC State's going to win this one? Was there a moment where you felt like the tide had maybe turned to their side? Because, like I said, they went in halftime trailing, and you played a Wake Forest team that in the first half they were really hot offensively.
I think really when Keenan scored that touchdown, it was like, all right, like we're exactly where we need to be. And then when we had the defense out there, those last few possessions, it just felt a little bit different. Right, like sometimes you're holding your breath a little bit with the defense, but it felt that energy was shifting a lot. That like, okay, we're able to stop them. We kind of figured them out a lot here, and I love seeing our defense be able to kind of make those halftime adjustments and really do those and execute those for that second half and have the kind of performance that they did.
Robbie Ashford for Wake Forest was really good in the first half throwing the football, but it felt a little bit like they were in front running mode. Right, like they had a lead, and you know this as an offense, it just feels easier when you're out front, right? Like you can kind of you've got that cushion there from where when you're chasing points, it's a different spot. Things I think obviously they can't snowball really on you if you're leading, right? You're still out there, you're still out front. You can always fall back on, well, we lead, we'll get them next possession. Whereas when you're trailing, I think you throw a pick or you have a fumble, it can just all snowball for you. And I thought you're right. When Keenan Jackson scored and NC State was able to take the lead in that game, you felt like Wake was where they did not want to be. And they never really could get out of that hole because they're not a team that's built, I don't think, to really chase points.
No, and that's what it felt like, too, with that kick return touchdown, those kind of momentum plays. I think Robbie scored in the first or second quarter as well, and they're all getting hype. It's like, you know, you could kind of feel like we were supposed to be the better team, though. We came out as the favorites as well. But just even in the game, as the game was progressing on, even though when we were down, it's like, all right, NC State's definitely a better team. We just have to play a little bit cleaner, and that's what ended up happening and executing those plays to be able to finish the game. Did you see anything differently from NC State after halftime? I know Dave Doeren talked about it
And I think he was asked about adjustments, and he said, we changed some things, but he said it was more we were executing, we were tackling, we were playing faster, we were playing more aggressive. I want to get your perspective at halftime. Let's do this. Halftime adjustments is a big deal for fans, right? We got to go into halftime and change everything. Take us through a halftime. Go for what, 15? It's 15 minutes, right? What all can you get done in 15 minutes?
Honestly, so the coaches will have plays that they like that they maybe haven't ran or they've already ran as well. So a lot of it is like the offense talking together, seeing what kind of plays that they want to run. They might want to run a double move off of it, right? They're jumping the slants. It's like, okay, here, we're going to go here. We might make up some plays as well that we haven't ran yet, but it would be just perfect for this game scenario. So that's like the first maybe 5 minutes of it is like figuring out the plays that you want to run or what's working, what we're throwing out as well. And then after that, you get with the position group and you just kind of talk about what's working, what's not working, how the defenders are playing us. It's just kind of like the rhythm, who's up next. And then the last like 5 minutes is just warming up. So really it's like, what's working best? What are we going to get to? And I think like what's most important are those shot plays that they're going to install maybe in the adjustment, or just like completely stripping something the way that we've done all week. It's like, we're not doing that anymore. This is how we're going to maybe go back to how we used to do it.
When you look at NC State now 3-0, they got the win against Wake Forest. Next up is Duke. Duke, did you play at Duke? I think you only played them at home, right?
At home, once,
Yeah, so this is how wacky the ACC was, everyone, when Emeka played. He was at NC State from 2017 to 2021, and the school that's arguably in the closest proximity in the league, he played one time in 2020. NC State won that game 31-20, the COVID year. Emeka had 4 for 87 in that game. That was the game where Devin Leary got injured in. State still found a way to win that one. So you didn't really get to experience playing over there, but I'm assuming, is it a little similar to Wake Forest, kind of that type of a rivalry type opponent?
Yeah, honestly, that was the one, because we just don't play them that much, that it was kind of weird. Like we didn't have any hate. It was like it felt like Virginia maybe, like it's just, all right, we're playing this game. There was no hate, but man, Duke was good though. Like Duke had some corners out there. I think those are the hardest corners I've ever played against my whole entire life. And they're just a sneaky team that you have to be clean against. They're kind of struggling a little bit, losing to Tulane and losing to Illinois as well, but they are a good team. Their quarterback is really good as well.
Yeah, Manny Diaz is over there, spent some time coaching at NC State back under Chuck Amato. He's bounced around as a head coach, had a big year last year in year one. They went out, got Darien Mensah out of the transfer portal, highly coveted quarterback target in the transfer portal, picked Duke early, and he's been as advertised. And the thing I give Duke credit about, Emeka, you would have loved this. They say, hey, we're going to throw the football. We invested heavily in this quarterback, right? We invested. I want to pull up these numbers here because you're right. Duke's 1-2, but they are throwing the football. I mean, they are right now attempting 41 pass attempts per game. He's averaging 353 passing yards per game. He's thrown 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, Emeka, they're not losing because of this passing attack.
No. What I've been watching from them is that they honestly are a lot better team than what they're advertised in 1-2. Against Illinois, honestly, like they should have won that game. A lot of costly turnovers with a punt return muffed. They had a lot of fumbles in that game. So like when I look at that, it's like, okay, that's fixable. So if you fix the turnovers, it's going to be a closer game. Like those turnovers have been really bad for them. So I think that like that's where you have to just not get too caught up on the record of them and realize that, like you said, they're averaging 350 yards passing. Like, this is a good team that we're going to play up against.
Yeah, if you're NC State, you have to win the turnover margin in this game. Duke is last in the ACC in turnover margin. They have lost 7 turnovers through 3 games, 5 fumbles. And Emeka, you guys do fumble drills. You fall on the ball. I remember when I would go out and cover you guys out of practice, they had the ball stuck to the wall that you had to like wrap and grab or whatever. Right? So you guys do everything from a fumbling standpoint to prepare for that. But I think in large part, fumbles can be a little fluky, right? I mean, that's a turnover where it's like, hey, maybe we'll have a game where we recover 3, we lose 3. And you look at Duke here through 3 games, they've already lost 5 fumbles. They've got 2 interceptions. And the bad thing to compound it for them, they have the fewest forced turnovers in the ACC. They've only forced 1 turnover defensively through 3 games. So they've got a -6 turnover margin through 3 games. Dave Doeren stresses the turnover margin. If you're -2 every game, which they're averaging, it's hard winning.
Absolutely, and that's such a crucial point of football is the turnovers and then the time of possession as well. Like you just lose a possession that ends up getting you closer or further away from wherever you're trying to get to. Like that is such an important part of the game is not turning the ball over, as well as the fumbles as well. Like understanding to just protect the ball. That's so important. You can win a lot of games by just not turning over the ball and just not making mistakes and not beating your own self.
What do you think is going to be the biggest key to this game for NC State against Duke?
I think like we talked about that turnover margin, capitalizing on those times where they're turning the ball over for whatever reason, that's what's happening for them. So capitalizing on those, playing clean, and I think just really just not turning the ball over, honestly. I think that when we capitalize on our possessions, we're just so unstoppable. Like at this team with CJ Bailey, it feels like we can score on each and every single drive, and it's been so much fun to watch. And allowing him to go play his game, giving Hollywood the ball, like kind of sticking to that script that we've been doing, ultimately I think that it's going to be hard to beat us.
One stat I've got my eye on in this game, Emeka, Duke is currently 8th in the ACC with, 5th in the ACC with 8 sacks through 3 games. NC State is last. They have 2 sacks as a team through 3 games. You know they're going to drop back a lot. How important is it going to be for State to be able to create some pressure on Darien Mensah?
Yeah, it's so important. I think that with a quarterback like that, having him a little bit rattled, having the hand in his face is going to get him off throws and off balance as well, which is so important. And I think for Duke as well, they have some good edge rushers over there as well. Our offensive line has been doing an extremely fantastic job, but they do have a really good defense, and I like their secondary a lot as well. So I think that that's where the game honestly is going to be won in those trenches. It'll be very important there.
How do you feel about NC State's wide receivers right now through 3 games? You saw them go over to Wake Forest. It's funny, man. When I look at this offense, you feel like Hollywood can do whatever he wants when he gets it. You feel like literally they could drop back and pass it if they wanted to every play and have success because those wideouts are getting open. It has to be like fun as an offensive coordinator when you're in that spot. But that's also a lot of people to try and, you can feed. Yeah. And so you look at those wideouts, man, you got a lot of guys over there who are, I think, doing a good job.
Yeah, I think they're so unselfish, really. Like, Noah will be the guy, then it's Terrell, then it's Keenan, then it's Wesley, then it's Teddy, and it's all these guys. They have so many guys on that offense. Justin Jolly, right, has 2 touchdowns. It's like it's pick your poison, right? And I think that they've been such a good job of being unselfish. And I think that with that, this to bring up Casey, right? Casey was such a talented receiver, but it had been a focal point to get him the ball. Like it had been a very extreme importance and emphasis to get him the ball. But the way we play now, it's just like, all right, does anybody get out there? CJ, run your reads, and then that just allows the quarterback to play a little bit easier as well to just give it to whoever's out there.
Well, I think that's how you know you have a real quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when your quarterback is not playing at a high level, what do they want to do? They want to funnel everything to one guy because that's the easy thing to do for a quarterback. I can just drop back and throw it to this guy, whether he's open or not, and trust that he can get open. The good teams, they spread it around. Like they have stars. They have guys who are really productive, but they still are willing to spread it around. I know when you were there, I thought Ryan did a really, really good job of taking care of Emeka, Jalen's, Jacoby. All of you guys were getting catches every game, and it didn't really matter. And I think that's how you know the offense is operating at a high level because you can't focus on one guy. Like this isn't a deal where I go to 2019, if I were game planning for NC State, hey, we got to take away Emeka Emezie. Right in the passing game, that would have been the focal point in 2019. Right this year, though, can you really say that about anybody? I think they have several guys who can go out and win one-on-ones to where you can't focus on one guy.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of I think NC State. We've done such a great job of, especially at the receiver position, at the skill positions, of having guys that are always ready. Right, you think about just. At this team, we have 6 guys at receiver that can go out there and play. Back in 2018, we had Jacoby, we had me, we had Thayer, we had TJ Riley, we had Kelvin. We had all these guys that can go out there and make a play. It's so hard to focus in on one guy. Like maybe you focus in on Kelvin, and then you're allowing me or Thayer or Jacoby to be able to have a good game. It's like it's just pick your poison at that point, and it doesn't really matter what plays are being called because every single option can be open on any given route, and that's what makes the quarterback play so easy and fluid, and that's why we have the success we've had at quarterback, having so many guys drafted, honestly.
You guys, NC State this past week, Dave Doeren talked about going into the Wake Forest game, that it was a rivalry game. We discussed that last week. To get that win, when you go into the Murphy Center the next week, what's some of the talking points to kind of not stay too high after a rivalry win and kind of get locked in and more focused on your next opponent? What are some things that you think the coaching staff stressing in that building this week?
It's like an importance to understand the importance of a game, but also understand that like we were supposed to do that, right? So like re-implementing that into our heads that we are this good. We've already known this about ourselves. We've seen this in camp. Now everybody else is just seeing this now on a bigger stage. So we're 3-0, but of course we've seen that for ourselves. That wasn't our goal to be 3-0. Our goal is to win the ACC championship, right? That's what a lot of the coaches are going to say. So it's like, yes, these wins are so important. It's a part of the daily task in a sense to get to where we're headed to, but ultimately we know where we're headed to. And these are just a part of the challenges that we face in order to get there.
All right, Emeka, I want you to be Dave Doeren for me for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
we all would like Mr. Doeren's wallet. Unfortunately, we don't have that, or at least I don't. So you can at least be here in spirit, right? We can be Mr. Dave Doeren. I have a question for you. You're Dave Doeren. What would be one adjustment you would make with your program or your team this week heading into this game against Duke? If there was something you'd be looking to maybe tweak or change in practice in that building, what do you think that would be this week for NC State?
I think the importance of getting the ball. I think the turnover, but like really practicing that, really practicing punching out the ball, really ripping the ball out, making sure that on special teams you're there behind the guy that's catching the ball and the punt returner and in front of him as well, that he might muff it. Right, those little small details that people allow to just go away because you're just playing another team. It's like, no, these things are going to happen, especially with this team. So I think like getting that turnover with the offense that we have is so important. Like we're going to score on that. We're going to capitalize on that. So I would emphasize that as much as I possibly could.
You know, we've been talking about starting fast, and we're going to end it with this one. We've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, Emeka, and NC State's been playing with fire, right? You know, they didn't start fast against Virginia. They fell behind 10 going into halftime of that game. They were down 7 going into halftime of the Wake Forest game. They were able to come back and win those games. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if they can do that this week at Duke, knowing the type of offense that Duke has. Like, I think you're playing with fire if you fall behind against that team in their building. And so for you, that has to be a key, right? Like if you were talking biggest key, if you weren't going to say turnover margin, you have to flip the script a little bit this week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like starting fast is everything. And I think that if we see how good of a team we are in the second half, then what happens if we start fast as well? We're going to be blowing these guys that we're going to just be so far ahead of them when it comes to that fourth quarter. So I would emphasize that so much because that early momentum is easy to be able to channel, especially with this team. We've been able to channel that through quarters, and we're transitioning all that energy throughout quarters, and being able to have that for our team and our offense, it really would do tremendous for us.
NC State lost Sebastian Harsh for the first half to a targeting call. I know you've been on that side of it. One of my guys, Mr. Tanner Engel, I've got his jersey in here. And one of my guys, Mr. Engel, you know where I'm going with this, the targeting, the ejections, all that. As a player, when you see that happen, and you don't play on the defensive side, or you didn't, but you still watch it, you know that has an impact. How big of an impact can that have in this game, not having him? And how do you feel about that call in general? Because you're often on the end of getting hit on it. So I'm sure offensive players, they want it officiated, but you probably admit to sometimes maybe that was not targeting, right? Like there's some that you can look at and say, like it's funny, Dave talked about it after the Wake Forest game. You see that hit on that Harsh was ejected for, and then you go to Grayson McCall's hit against Wake Forest last year that was not a penalty or a flag, right? Right. That's the issue folks have with the targeting. So when you see that, it's impacting the next game. That's a big deal.
I don't enjoy the getting ejected for those moments. Like there has to be like a kind of warning. I think like the intention behind it, right? Like a Grayson McCall hit should be an ejection. Like those type of intentions, of malicious intentions where it's clearly somebody like it's such a bad hit. It's like, okay, like that should be ejection. But when it's like those ticky-tacky, it's like technically the rule book of targeting, and that's where it's like, all right, like we're just maybe we're getting a little bit too out of hand here. It's still football at the end of the day, and it does affect the team. Like when we didn't have Tanner out there, it's like that's a whole that's a different player. That brings a whole different kind of energy to the team. And with Harsh, like he's such a good player as well. Like we need those kind of guys on every single snap. It's I don't like the ejection. I don't like the ejection as well to affect the next game because it happened in that past game. Like maybe just get ejected for that game. I don't really enjoy the targeting calls too much, to be honest.
All right, Emeka, I'm going to end it with this. You don't have to give me a score, but I want you to tell me how you think this game's going to play out in Durham on Saturday, 4 p.m. Wolfpack over there taking on the Blue Devils.
I think that like the momentum of everything that we have going on has been so fun to watch. And I think that the guys are also believing in themselves more. And with momentum such a dangerous thing in life in general as well. And having that kind of momentum, maybe Duke is trying to fight back against that momentum of those turnovers and stuff like that. I think that with the starting fast, with getting the ball into CJ's hands, with getting the ball into Hollywood's hands, that we're able to take that momentum and honestly take the win as well. I think I'll say 34-24 again for NC State.
There you have it. Emeka Emezie, NC State with a 10-point win. Let's just go ahead and fast forward and we say that's what's going to happen right now. That wouldn't be fun. We have to watch the game. But yeah, NC State, big game this week against rival Duke over in Durham. The Wolfpack looking to improve to 4-0 on the season. So got with Emeka today to look back at the win over Wake Forest. We previewed Duke. We discussed some of his moments in that series. We're going to do it again next week. We'll come back. We'll talk about Duke. We'll look ahead to the matchup. I believe it's Virginia Tech. Yeah, these games that's going to be fun because they don't have a coach anymore, Emeka. We can talk about that type of a deal. Yeah. So, but I appreciate Emeka joining us here today. As always, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe at Inside Pack Sports here on YouTube to the channel. Also, make sure you check out Emeka's social media platforms. Emeka, go ahead and tell everybody where you can find you at.
Yeah, Emeka Emezie 2 on Instagram, and I'm heavy on TikTok right now with Emeka 2 Emezie. So, yeah, appreciate that.
There you have it. Social media, we've got Snapchat, X, YouTube, I can't forget TikTok. That was growing, right? We got TikTok here. So make sure you check out Emeka over there as well. And visit us at www.insidepacksports.com for the latest coverage of NC State athletics.